So before we start with the rest of the lecture, as a continuation to Cushing's syndrome, we need to understand that there are certain features that are very characteristic. The characteristic features with high discriminatory value, discriminant or discriminatory value, that will point towards Cushing's syndrome clinically. So there are four: bruisability, proximal myopathy, facial plethora, and stria. So stria needs to be purplish, non-blanchable, more than 1 centimeter, non-tapering, and deep to less than equal to 1 centimeter. So these are the highly discriminant clinical features that will point towards Cushing's syndrome clinically. Among them, bruisability is the maximum discriminatory. Okay. Now we come to the workup. So in workup, we need to understand that the screening test will have high sensitivity and very high negative predictive value also. So here the first test is going to be either the midnight salivary cortisol or the midnight serum cortisol. So the cortisol should be undetectable here. Should be undetectable. If it is detectable, then it is considered to be positive. Then the third test is, so this we are going to have 100% negative predictive value, and these are also part of the screening tests. The third one is going to be ONDST, overnight DEXA suppression test. In this, we give 1 milligram of oral dexamethasone at 11 p.m. and measure the DEXA at 8 a.m. in the morning, looking for cortisol levels. So here the one thing we need to understand is, if the cutoff here is 1.8 microgram per deciliter. So if the cortisol is not suppressed, see, when DEXA is given, so because of negative feedback, there should be suppression of uh, cortisol levels. So if the cortisol level is not suppressed, it is still more than 1.8 microgram per deciliter, then it is Cushing's syndrome. If it is less than 1.8 microgram per deciliter, then it is a negative test. Now the fourth test is going to be low dose DEXA suppression test. In low dose, what we do is we give 0.5 milligram 6 hourly to the patient, and then we do this for 2 days. And then on day 3, the cutoffs are same. If it is more than 1.8 microgram per deciliter, it is Cushing's syndrome. If it is less, then it is normal. So there are specific conditions that may mimic Cushing's syndrome. They are known as pseudo Cushing's. What are they? Depression, obesity, alcoholism. Okay. So what we do here is we do a low dose DEXA suppression test. We give 0.5 milligram 6 hourly for 2 days. Okay. And then after that, what we do is we do a CRH stimulation test. So if we do a CRH stimulation test, CRH is going to stimulate ACTH, okay, and subsequently cortisol production. But this is going to not happen to that extent if we do it after low dose DEXA suppression test, and the cortisol should be suppressed to less than 1.8 microgram per deciliter in pseudo Cushing's, while in Cushing's it is going to be again 1.8 microgram per deciliter above. Okay. So what are the specific conditions in which we do which test? So in a florid Cushing's syndrome, we can do any test. While in a early or mild disease, we can do midnight, serum, or salivary cortisol levels. In case of a patient with metabolic syndrome and PCOS, what we do is we do a ONDST or we do a LDDST. And in case of pseudo Cushing's, we do a LDDST and a CRH stimulation. Okay. So now what is the part 2? This was the part 1 of the test where we go for cortisol levels and their suppressions. Now we go to ACTH levels. So in ACTH levels, in case of ACTH dependents, ACTH is going to be more than 20 picogram per ml. But in case of ACTH independent, it is going to be less than 5 picogram per ml. So if this is the case, then the cause is adrenal. And here what we go for is imaging of the adrenal system. That is, we go for CT adrenals. And if there is a unilateral adrenal adenoma or a bilateral adrenal adenoma, bilateral adrenal hyperplasia / adenoma, So here we go for unilateral adrenalectomy. Okay, unilateral adrenalectomy, or here we go for bilateral adrenalectomy after medical management. We'll come to medical management. In bilateral adrenal ectomy, what we need to understand is there can be Nelson syndrome. We'll come to it in subsequent lectures. So now we come to ACTH dependent Cushing's. So what we need to do? The most common cause is going to be pituitary adenoma, and the investigation of choice is going to be MRI with gadolinium enhancement. So if the mass is present, then we go for transsphenoidal resection. This is simple. But if it is negative, so then it can be paraneoplastic, or it can be less than 6 mm, which is not visible on MRI. Okay. So what we do here is we go for a HDDST, high dose DEXA suppression test. We give 2 milligram every 6 hourly, and we measure cortisol levels on day 3. So here, if it is suppressed, here if it is not suppressed. If it is suppressed, it is pituitary adenoma. Suppressed to less than 1.8 microgram per deciliter. It is not suppressed, then it is ectopic ACTH production, that is paraneoplastic in nature. Okay. So now what we do is, in case of paraneoplastic, we go for PET scan. But if it is pituitary adenoma, which is not visible, but HDDST is suppressed, we go for something which is known as IPSS, inferior petrosal sinus sampling. So what is inferior petrosal sinus sampling? We take a catheter and we take from a central vein, and we go up to the petrosal sinus, and there we take the sample for petrosal sinus ACTH levels, and we divide it by petrosal sinus by peripheral, which is antecubital vein ACTH levels. Okay, so if it is more than 2, the ratio is more than 2, then it is an indication for hypophysectomy. That means there is an adenoma, but it may not be visible on MRI because of size correlations. Then we go for transsphenoidal resection. So there is another cutoff, like if we measure the CRH levels, then the cutoff is more than 3. Okay. And if we see both the petrosal sinuses, we do it both the sinuses. So here the lateralization ratio, where we need to do the hypophysectomy, is going to be the ratio difference between the two is going to be 1.4. Okay. So this is how it goes, and it's also basically done. It's also known as IPSS sampling, and it is very specific. So now we come to the treatment part. It is going to be of medical and surgical, mainly surgical. Transsphenoidal resection is the treatment of choice. If the patient is unfit, then we go for gamma knife surgery, stereotactic surgery, or known as radiotherapy. Okay. So these are the things that one needs to be very careful about. And now the medical management. So the medical management, medical adrenalectomy is done by a mitotane. One of the very common drugs is ketoconazole. Then there is aminoglutathione. Then there is etomidate. Then metirapone, mifepristone, pasireotide, and I think some of it is left, and no, we have completed it. So what are the mechanism of actions? Ketoconazole is a side chain cleavage enzyme. Ketoconazole is a side chain cleavage enzyme inhibitor. Okay. What we need to monitor here is the LFT, hepatotoxic drug it is. Then what we do for mitotane is a direct adrenolytic agent. So it is medical adrenalectomy is done by mitotane, and that's very, very important. Okay. And now after that we are going to come to pasireotide. It acts on somatostatin receptor 4. Somatostatin receptor 4. Okay. Then we go for metirapone. It is a 11 beta hydroxylase inhibitor. Mifepristone acts directly on the glucocorticoid receptor. These are older drugs, now not used, so their mechanisms we can skip. And how do we monitor them? We monitor them via 24-hour urinary free cortisol. Okay. This is also one of the screening tests. Now we come to some important points, like what are the causes of a patient having low 8 a.m. serum cortisol despite having Cushing's syndrome. Low 8 a.m. cortisol despite Cushing syndrome. So things are going to be either there is a cyclical Cushing syndrome. So when we do it at the inactive stage, here in the inactive stage we do it. So it is going to come out to be low. Okay. Then if there is pituitary apoplexy, that is bleeding in the pituitary, so everything reduces. Okay. Then there is, say the patient is on ketoconazole therapy, or there is cortisol binding globulin deficiency, as 90% is bound. Fifth is AIMAH, that is ACTH independent macronodular adrenal hyperplasia. Okay. So another thing is we are going to see is whether what are the conditions in which the Cushing syndrome patient is going to have very low weight. Okay. So they are going to be in adrenal carcinomas, any condition in which there is increased BMR. So they can go for lean Cushing's. All right. Now after that, what we need to go for is any drugs that interfere with the urinary free cortisol levels or salivary free cortisol levels. So salivary free cortisol is very easy. Tobacco chewing. While urinary free cortisol, there are specific drugs. One is licorice. This is known as mulethi in Hindi. So this can actually inhibit the 11 beta hydroxylase, hydroxy dehydrogenase enzyme type 2. Then there is a drug known as carbinoxolone. Okay. Then there are drugs such as fenofibrate. Okay. And any synthetic glucocorticoid assay. So it can produce a false positive test. Okay. Then what are the anti-epileptics causing such a test? They are going to be carbamazepine and sometimes phenytoin. Rarely. This is very common. So here we come to the end of Cushing syndrome. Thank you very much.